always wanted to carve a pipe. What is that strange stone, the red tint, known to the old ways of pipe material, the sacred pieces? This is pipestone, redstone, earth struck by lightning. Many thousand years ago. This is part 2 of the cutting the pipe. We decided in this series would go into a little more detail with a much more complicated approach to a pipe. We selected our stone, and from this we have already sawed out our section that we had selected, laying the other pieces aside to show the pipe and the pieces that we take from that to leave what we want to work with. There's a considerable amount of material left over, so we do want to save this for future use of other items. So for saving of time, what we'll do is go ahead. We've got the general outline laid here now of what we want to carve. We'll come up now with our drawing of what we want to appear to be like after we get through with it. We now have made a drawing of what I propose to put on the surface. This will be a little different because this is something that I've seen and enjoyed, and thought of the artist who made probably the original one of this, who must put a lot of thought in his approach to this particular pipe. What he has, a very narrow sloping front with a beak feature with a brick smokestack and little legs that protrude from the bottom of the pipe with a square area in the back, a leg in the front. Now, I found this to be extremely a unique pipe because of these are very hard to maintain a physical evenness to it. Not only that, breakaway would be extremely easy too. So one would have to carve with a lot of patience in mind and not to scurry it through. You have to sort of gnaw away a piece at a time and go slow. And that's what we attempt to do. Okay, what we need to do now is to outline in the area of the pipe some of the ideas that we had placed on the original drawing. scoring this allows us to lose our idea along the line. And as complicated as this will be, you sure don't want to make any mistakes. Leave something that we wanted out due to the fact that we done ground it away before we found that we've done this. Hopefully you can see that some of the outlines that I have here. I'll get them in and I'll sort of explain a little bit. Okay. And occasionally you have to use another tool or two to sort of leave out your area. 6 legs, evenly about spaced. There's 6 legs there. Okay. Now this would be like a hand, and maybe a ear, the mouth area. All this right here will come out. Each one of these legs now I've got to stick it from this block. I'll be cutting like a circle here heading in at about a 45-degree angle. Gives the legs to appear to be sticking out with the body laying. As comparisons to our drawing earlier, we've now taken top rounding, slanted it back, sloped these 2 sides, and this has taken quite a time period. It's been about an hour or so now just doing this. First off, we wanted to make sure that there's no cracks or flaw lines that's unseen to the eye. It may cause you later to suffer a break in the area. I might also say at this time, by carving a structure whereby someone that has already made this many years ago, that particular artist, by you using that maybe as a copy, gives you the feeling directly how in relation to the difficulty in which each one of these stages were type of difficulty. This one seems to be, I'd put it in a pretty difficult approach by having hidden areas and sloping and have the top of the bow come out to make sure that all these little legs are retreating. So to copy per se a pipe of great difficulty allows you to have that living experience to something someone else has done, and while you're sitting working, probably you'll have some thoughts of that nature, that what was he thinking whenever he did this, and what was he thinking when he did this, and he was saying at this point, my goodness, should I do this or that? So it's a good experience to probably copy a couple pieces of great difficulty. I had a fun piece. I wanted to try something. This is just really nothing, but I carved a more or less a pointed object and had it recruiting to see how well these feet would be when they set up. You know, it won't be exactly like that, but if I had made up this block now and make up 4 feet coming from a block like this, I could make a great deal of difference the objects that I'm able to do and what the difficulty is. Let's proceed on. is a good time to find out whether or not your pipe is going to take the bowl and in the stem area. So this time we'll bow now before we invest too much time into this object to make sure that we safely get those two the items achieved, because in the bit the flutes become full of the material and they swell and therefore busting the bowl usually, or the side if there's a hairline crack. What you could do is to mark the tape on the drill bit area about how deep you would like for your depth of your drill to be. This one we'll just go ahead and do it by sight. Really, I have a small secret that I'll have to share at this point. This drill has done so many that it's got a shiny area down about here. So therefore, pretty well gives me an idea of where I need to stop. If you got a nice fresh bit, you would know that. Okay. Let's save this one for a little bit later, and till we get a little more body formed at the rear of the pipe here, so that we'll know where center should be. Meaning we're not quite ready. We'll sneak up on that now. Do my drilling. What I need to do is lay off my little round area here. I've started drilling somewhat to make me off a round area, so that I'll know where I want my body to appear. So it gives you a chance too to look at it and say, you may have to take some off of one side and add to the other. About right. And this way, this particular area will not escape you while you're working. whereby if you lay it off with a pencil or a pen, you may find that it's not there in the right place when you get ready for it. Rub it off with your hand. It's very difficult to work against the camera and being able to allow you to see. It looks like maybe that can be self-exclamatory. Now I can work down, saving the depth that I have between the top of the block and the bottom here. If I want to make these little hands that lay up, I'll have enough material when I go back and up to lay these out so they're sort of laying on top of the block. In other words, I have nothing, there'll be a little skin laying on top of here that I'll leave, but I can now work that way and slice it out. Still working with the rear. I've countersinked this somewhat so that you could see that in reference to the circle and this skin I was talking about earlier here, leaving an area between where we're going to stop to where we're gnawing away. You take this all the way for the full length. That will leave you anything you want to embed into this, a thin skin layer, and still have the form that you can work out. Sort of hard to explain in a sense. You have to be able to visualize that we're going to do some carving that will be sticking out. Not everything is worked with a motorized tool. A lot of rasp filing can go on. You have a file that has a smooth edge on both sides so that you don't scarp any of the area that you don't want to get to. And not only that, I've picked a piece of stone here that has a piece of iron running through it, I think. See, a vein right in this area that allows the motorized tool, well, I can give you a sound proofing of it. You tell the soft, this is soft, that's the hard piece right there, hard there. Now listen at the soft side. Little piece right there, gone. And these are the things that can really tear up a bird. Try to work, you can really hear it. Matter of fact, it's hardly not even touching. So when you use a file, it'll break that away. You can grind around the outer areas whereby leaving the piece that's giving you the difficulty. That's what I'm doing here, which actually is a vein that runs all the way down this side. But then by taking a heavy rasp, I'm able to more or less break it off with the file because of the great extending ends of this file is great force. So I just found it was easier to sit here and more or less chip it away as it goes. Don't want to let your file slip on you. If you do a lot of pipe carving, you'll find that your skin supply begins to run low, especially in the knuckle area. Okay. Unless you're willing to help, let me take care of it by myself here a minute. All right. And now we've taken and indented this area and rounded it off on both sides to sort of match the rear than we had laid off with the circular fill the top. Then we took and shaved off both sides of this flat area and here up in the nose. And this will make the beak. Now what I've done here, for the sake of time again, I've sort of got ahead of the game on it in a sense. I went ahead and laid off this side, which would be the beak area, right in here and the leg. Each one of these is going to be a circular leg retreating from the body at an angle. Here we have an eye, and then we have a couple scale areas, and then we have an arm that extends back to here with fingers, as you can see on the finger area, and then we have a couple leafed areas. And all we got to do now is to bring each one of these to the opposite side, and the magical thing is to transpose this on this side so that there will be exactly the appearance to be the same. So what I'll do now, I'll just start gnawing away, and we'll progress right on down through it, starting with this side, and I'm going to lay this out, and then I'll come back and we'll take the drill or the Dremel and we'll work out this side so you can see what I did here. This may or may not be a helpful hint, but a pair of scissors, and like you used to do back in the grade school days, you used to lay your nickel or dime down and you'd take a pencil and you'd rub over it till it would leave an impression. And then you could take and cut out the impression that you got, flip the knee sheet over, making a left-hand sided piece of it, lay it over and draw around by cutting out each little piece as you go, because it's going to get flimsy after you get up here in the eyeball area and some other things. You just cut out the eyeball and trace inside and start, instead of leaving the eyeball out. I'll show each as I go, but this is really one way to surely nail similarity close to what it is you're trying to match up on the opposite side. Normally I just take mine, and without this sheet, I just go on and come across on the inside and up and make my groove. And you'll learn to do a technique like a seat clamp, where your finger marks on this side what's happening on the other side. And once you learn to grasp that technique, you can feel and know exactly there's a line right here. See? So that comes in time. We got a couple of these pieces tabbed out, the legs and the eye. We can pretty well match our form coming from the other side now, and then take our pencil and mark in these areas, like right here would be the eye. So we know that. Now they got an indentation here from the opposite for a leg. Now these don't have to be dead accurate, they just have to be in proportion to the opposite side that you will address it. Then of course you'll have to have a plus or minus tolerance. You can imagine the old day with the bones, saws, and the tools. There were many years put forth processing a pipe to make all the cuts. In other words, they didn't just go through in 16 hours, turn out a nice pipe. It was something that you worked with, and you developed your pipe by adding something maybe daily to it, or you just found unique things that you could put on it and carve on it and polish it. And in a rainstorm, you might be in a cave or something, and you're just adding some things to your pipe while the storm's going on. Same times when I was a little bored doing something, I would sit down and carve or improve a polishing area within a pipe. Just something that I wanted to do to it and keep adding to it. Now, of course, I'll take this and the little hand area that comes from the opposite side, this arm, and this will get a little touchy here because of the little fingers and all, but I'll take and cut these outlines out, and then I will overlap it on this rounded off area, and then I'll engrave this a little bit to hold the image in till I can get to it on a steady, regular base. I'm going to lay out where we've traced these markings, which the camera may not pick up very well. The oils in your skin have a tendency to take away the markings from pencil, so I use a brush a lot of times to try to keep from destroying any of my little markings if I got them. Also to clean out the little grooves that may be left full of debris. Being I can't see the fingered area that I want in this hand, I'm going to skip that for right the moment and try to pick up on that in the best I can again. This is my hard side. This is the side with the different pieces of fossilized material in, which is going to make the hard side. There's a lot of little swirls and things that are in this, so this would have been the top settlement area of the stone, which the riverbed or the old day. See how it leaves you with these little hard places stuck in here. You can see that, but anyway, by the uneven areas you could tell there would be hard and soft places. So let us try to work down now on some of this and join the two to meet each other on the opposite side. Okay, now we've added a little more detail. We've taken the inside chunk out. Both sides, we try to match up our eye area for both. We got most of the indentions here. Of course, we haven't brought our feet under because there's a great deal of time spent just getting the shape within this and searching that out. Now, true, we did bore a hole earlier, and we still haven't yet here. The reason was that the feet that are going to go here, this inside area has got to slant down and come out, so that's going to put the hole, truthfully, a little high. In other words, right in here. So we want to make sure that we're not dragging the edges. Well, let's sharing some of the things here that's happening. What we'll do, we brought out the bottom of the feet and tapering off the body to meet these little feet that hang down. Said earlier, we have pieces inside this area here that have hard pieces to the drill. I mean, they are hard. They can be little boogers when they want to be too. They're little freckled rascals. And probably some crawl down in this mud many years ago. It's not as soft as this clay or this rock material. And this particular bit, carbon bit, right on through. See, it's one of those, and then it slows him down. You can take the cutting edges, so I sort of avoid them as much as possible. Or work backwards. See, they're laying up here, so if I'm coming up from the bottom, I can capture them and pop them out. It's got to be hold your accuracy, because sometimes that drill bit will take it, the hardness will guide you to another direction and way you want to go with it. Right now we have a very delicate pipe. It's getting more so as time goes on, progresses. These legs, as we begin to taper them toward the center, this angle, will become very brittle and easy to break off. So what we'll do is all the raw heavy stuff we'll do first before we think about coming back and finishing up the legs. That'd be the last thing we'll do in this case. We'll take out all the area, bring out the definition in the upper edge, now bore a hole in the rear, which is going to put the tip about right here, and then begin to carry it on into its definition. But like I say, just a tap could knock one of these off right here, and that will show the proficiency of skill, I guess you would say, and not, well, finishing with all 6 or legs on each side. Well, now we're 9 hours into the game. Still going. We have is a pipeman's nightmare. Something has come about that was unforeseen. That is, we have one nice soft side, easy to work with, and then we have one side now we've run down into this layer of hard, very hard chirp, and that is going to make it particularly interesting to see how we're going to get some of these places smoothed down, and to go for round legs. If one of these little pieces get in your leg and you find that you can't round it off. The last leg right here has a piece in it which has got me worried, and right here near the rear, I mean, these pieces are so hard that after you finish with the file over them, they don't go totally away. They actually leave part of the metal from the file still on the area. Could go ahead, bore a hole, do things like that, but a lot of this is going to have to be I'm afraid, done very slow with a hand tool of some kind. Decided how I'm going to approach yet. But it is taking on a real nice appearance. A lot of things there going on. I'll go ahead and finish working out some of these legs. real hard stuff. Some of these are not. This particular burr here is not carbon in it. This is eating it up. Now, it's all like this area right here would be neat. And see, this is what you call the pipe fights you. Sometimes it doesn't want to be a pipe. No matter how you want it to be a pipe, it don't want to be a pipe. I think I'll go for a little smaller bit. What I want to also, before I do that, I want to show you a little something here. Now this is just for the leg area. Now, can you imagine if you didn't have a thing snorting up this powder, which it's doing a little at a time there now. That could be all over everything, including household and real nice powder. Alright, what we did was select it now to put the hole in before we get too far along here and have something drastically break. Okay. Trouble selecting a bit. finding my bits. What we'll do is get some measurement here of what we want to sneak up on in reference to the hole in the back from here to here and from the top and the bottom. So let me get all the preparations for that. Got our tape marked off. Run up in the paint, and thing now is to fire loose. The chuck loose so that as we get deeper into the pipe, we don't jam it. Cause expansion and break. Now, change bits. Go for one just a little bit smaller. Should put us down from the top. Take off from where we've done it before. Like to leave my other one in. This is going to be quite a pipe. Achieve the mark on this with all these little pieces that we've got. Chunks of metal, little chunks of hard rock. Could have done that another way, which I'd rather do. It's like a pretty good hole area. Okay, we went down just a smidget downhill, but as long as we don't go any deeper with the feet, on the outer edge we're in good shape. Okay. A little tape on this. Mark out our spot. Accommodate. See how here. And we'll put this in sort of an angle. I'm a doggy. Don't want to miss. Not as shallow as that is. Okay. I gotta do all kinds of gyrations here to center myself up. Don't never rush. Not sure whether the camera can see it or not, but notice the tape at the other end is turning. Well, won't perform for you, but as I say, you know, it says it has hole in it. Okay. That was a good shot. No problem. Clean out some of the debris we got. So now we'll just keep easing away. We got our front and back now accomplished. Let's see where I ended up. Ooh. You have to always have to watch. Can't afford a whole lot of underneath work now. I'm right here almost at the neck area. So sometimes you can see where you leave these. Yeah. Can't go too deep in there, so next is to play with all this and try to get it all smoothed up, making spacing out some of these feet a little bit, which will make it a little easier. I can cut them down to about right in this area here, about the size of a pencil maybe, and got them sloped the way I want them, and just sort of maybe scratch and get some of these heavy indentions out. And as we pull the legs back, we hope that we're going to come closer to meeting the general idea we had earlier, which was these little legs. Okay. We've taken now, at this point, and buffed all the cracks and crevices, taking a small object pocket knife and following the outer edges of each outlining strip, sending all this along after you would scrape most of your heavy marks from it with a knife or some object. You could use a flat piece of metal. It doesn't really have a lot of edge on it at all. Just something that will score across evenly. For those heavier ones, I work with a very light file, and then I have one with a coarse grain, which I worked out some even places like across some edges here, sort of brought those into line.
when you go between, you can get a foul between these marks where the feet are. Uh, they make scoring marks on the body area, which are right difficult for light can be caught right. Sometimes you can see where the foul comes out of here and makes a little groove, so you have to be careful how you approach that too. I hope I got most of them out so you can't see it with the lights right. But as you see now, it has taken up pretty much the likeness of the drawing in which we were working from the new museum piece, which now has pretty close the same characteristic. Now what I've got to do is to put in, these are feathers. I'm going to put feathers in here in the brick, and there's brick-like work at the top. There was a couple little, oh yes, where these are just little bumps that you see sticking out the bottom. I got to thinking, I believe, it's nice to go ahead and go to great detail, and I know that this would be a very fragile piece the way it stands right now. If you should bump it or something, it would, one of these would just go in a minute. I had shown earlier in the film and accidentally let my file slip, but I had a leg mounted right here on the side of this, or tooth, and in the process I just tapped it and it broke. So that was really my test for this particular leg arrangement. So now I'm going to change my legs. What I think I'm going to do is actually add little feet that go forward instead of having these little round peg-like. So now I've got good thickness underneath. So sometime you might want to change the middle of the stream. And what I'll do now, I'll keep these pretty thick, but I'll taper them, and then I'll add little shoe foots all the way up and down, which will make it a lot neater. Or I'll add little claw-like tips to it, something that at least won't lose the whole leg. Okay, what I will do now is to work on the leg areas and bring that in, and then I'm going to score in the top. finished the piece, buffed it somewhat, took some of the scratches out, and took the leg area and worked it down like we said we would. Now, there's a little thing here we missed due to lighting, which doesn't allow a whole lot here in this particular area, other than that turning it and it's getting the reflections. It's right difficult to see some of the feather detail here and in the back and the striping in between, but we pretty well ended up with a few minor changes than what we started with. First off, we had little round legs. We decided that those were very fragile. We wanted something that was a little more sturdier. We left the legs thick at the bottom. This was an afterthought, so it's not exactly the same as the museum piece, but it is similar to it. And after all, like I say, the experience that you get just from working the piece lets you know the difficult that the artist had originally in his reproduction. So to copy something, or I call this copy, from a museum piece or something of that sort, helps you experience how did they do it, what tool did they use, and what methods. By rubbing this down for the shine and all, maybe using steel wool, a light grade or a heavy grade, and polishing it as high as you can here, or friction, water, pumice, a grit, the 400 grit sandpaper, or just by usage, handling it and all. So that I did not show here how I finish off the final shine and all, and that could come with another project that we may have room for this time. What I'll try to do now is get a couple close-up pieces of this, from different angles. Pipe aside, and got another thin layer of stone that I wanted to cut some things, and I noticed that now this is even going to be thinner, because the way we check it is we look around it very carefully and we see something that appears to be a hairline crack, like we have right here. You have to take some object, lay it in what you think is a crack, stress test it a little bit. And if it falls apart at this point, you know that had that place in it. Okay. What I've done now is just gone and got me a couple pieces of tools here. I found this hairline crack, which soak it
water and you wait to see if it picks up any residue. If it does, it tells you got a crack in it. As you can see, that would be very disappointing to find that you've invested your time into something and then all at once you get this. Now, this crack will be in here, but it may not protrude on. It may not give you any more trouble. It's always good to check it around and see. Yep, here it comes. As you can also notice that it's staying at a pretty close a level that one could say work with. This stone here would just be only good for some kind of small object, thin, pretty thin. But it's not waste. I can see a couple of objects in this already. It might be a good idea too to check and see if that it has any sharp, non-willing to give up type materials in it. Like this little slither that you see here. Cuts very nicely. Seems to be allow itself to make something. Take that over and drain up. But these are a couple little safety pieces you need to keep in mind. Change pace a minute and go to a little different thought. Well, we've got a pipe made, and now comes the time of selecting something that you would make your stem from, hopefully something that you can pick up. In the old days we were sumac was good. That was considered easy to burn the holes through the center. Some other woods are not indigenous to this area that may have been used, but being in the west, and then they use one item to make their stems from, where the east may use some other object or item. And this is cedar. This is the red cedar, not white. In the center here is a real mellow area. And what we'll do is take, this is a limb, or this is almost a whole tree, and take and cut off a flat area out of the limb, or if this happens to be the vertical part of someone's Christmas tree, and produce. Usually we take the core, the center, or the heart of the tree, and real old cedar struggle through like redwood will have places inside unforeseen to the eye that'll be like this. This laid inside the tree, and it's dry rotted areas. It's been there for all the years where something had captured a piece of bark or something, and you find this throughout. What makes cedar sometime of this type so hard to get anything in large pieces. Nevertheless, we decided we want a stem, so we've cut these in the length that we want, and I've carried it off of here, another piece that I have, and it priorly taken a small stem out, and now I'm going to use the other half for a different stem. So let's go ahead and proceed to make us up a cedar stem for a pipe.
match. Oh, set pattern for what you want. The main thing is to get something that appears to fit your taste. After a while, you do this a bit, and you find that it's just sort of second nature. You just knock them out without any pattern per se. You want to do what usually breaks off on you first, or gets you trouble first. In the old days, there was tradition by which you make pipes. One would be the old way, one would be the modern way, using the tools at hand. The old way would be more or less doing it the old-fashioned way, whereby you would go and use certain tools to do certain things. More or less, they felt that it was purification act was transpired by using old ways. According on what you on using a ceremonial pipe. It'll be a personal pipe, how you feel you want your pipe to be. If it be the old or the new way. Okay, I've got it so that it mounts in there pretty snug, and does not go quite up inside here. Now what I'll do, I want it to fit snug, and not snug enough that it takes a great deal of force. And what I'll use is beeswax, and I'll coat the stem area here. Now, times past there have been pieces of wrapped leather around in that area. I'll trim this all down real nice and flush, and give myself just a little tightness area up in here. Okay? Pick the grain of your wood. Most little hardwares have got these nice little planes, and they do real well for this kind of thing. Just make sure that with the grain, and this runs in about 7 to 11 different ways. Here we're across, here we're with it, here we're going to be into a knot. This is going to be sort of difficult. Now, cedar is known to be that way. And it does in many different directions and grains in which it runs. We'll just get to them, stop, skip them, carry them on, because I can work these out later with something like a file or a rasp. The main thing is to pick these edges that we may lose off. This is a real good smelly wood. One thing for its usage was that it did carry a very pleasant odor. Now, I can either choose at this point to burn, like I say, burn a hole with a wire. Not quite the diameter I have here, which isn't really that all bad. That's what this is. I have a couple thinners, but it's a steel wire, and you heat it and you keep pressing it till you burn your way all the way through to some portion, and then you come from the other end with a great deal of guidance from somewhere other than your own. You will meet both holes either in the center, or whereby it's straight through like this rod, as some say the purpose may be, or you may find yourself protruding from the side. So feel that this is one of the harder things. I had a gentleman that called me from the Sioux that said that he wanted some of this, and I sent him a piece, and he wanted to know how we got the holes through it. Well, they use sumac, and sumac has a pithy area in the center whereby all you got to do is poke out like cornstalk. You can just poke through and find that you can easily knock out the centers. So I had to tell him that he had to be the invention of the hole. Either drill it and burn it, or burn it and hope for the best. Now we'll prepare to do our hole burning. These are what I call burning rods. What I've done is taken a piece of steel down like, and I've cut some flutes right in, just straight marks, so that they have a little place to catch pieces of this, and the friction of the two, the wood being caught in this and burned, as the bit goes down inside, builds the fire. Now, I made little rings in here like they were threads, and that sort of orgles back the material, and it captures it between this and the wall, and you score it. So what we'll do is we'll start from the back end, and I just do it by pure sight and sound. We're going to start this with a bit. Get past the little fleshy areas here. We'll take a moment, we'll change a bit. Okay. Now, if things using a little radar here, I've got these two spares. Now, started a hole in both ends, and I can lay this up now and sort of get an idea of where this is headed for. And it looks like I'm buried. To keep this up, I'm going to be burying a little off center on that. And if I really want to carry it on down here after the first mark, check with the rear plus this line, I'm going to bump. I'm going to bump within one of these rod sizes. I'm going to sort of be falling on the outer edge right here, so I might accidentally make connection right here by a side bump. So if nothing takes it off for left or right, of course there again you got two to everything. So Mother Nature has said it would be. One needs to see if he's matched on both sides. Now, believe it or not, this seems to be, this says I'll hit it. So now's the time. I'm going to change a bit to move over and go for a correction. Setting my sights down those lines. Once this gets started now, it's going to guide itself.
still very unsure. Like I say, now that you've gone that far, it's a little hard to change the. Oh, that looks to be heading in the right direction. This is the one that worries me because see, I've put a slight rocking chair bow in the pipe stem. Alright, now what I'll do now is turn loose the burning bits. It's getting right warm. This gives off quite a nice aroma. Can't tell it's smoke. I don't think it's the light doesn't permit. It's sitting there. It's smoking all over. Okay. Then we got our hole like we want it. We need to dress up the sides to the slope that we want for beading and for the mouthpiece. No. That the burning methods weren't always reliable as anything else. We laid our coil area, and I've always wanted to do this and never have, but this time I'll just do it. I wondered how accurate were my drawings, because this is pretty well going. This has got knot here and a knot here, and a knot there, a knot up here. So I've taken and cut away a section just to see how bad we were burning through. As you can see, I have a line drawn right here, so that gives you an idea there. And then with the other rod, you can see I was coming from the opposite side, and eventually I would have come out maybe right here on this side of this corner. Now that's not too bad. I've seen them come out worse. But I found my hole to be located to the side there, down in here, where the other one's running through right here. Now I've got two choices that I can work with. I can either cap this off with a piece and glue this on, or I can cast it to the sides. My choice, the way I want to hem it. But I can actually put in a piece here of a different wood, maybe walnut or something, and it'll become sort of veneered looking. And I can put some carvings in it and do whatever I want, and I've matched two pieces of wood that may mean something more so to the pipe, even though the hole was missed. But nevertheless, the whole idea is old tradition way was to get one to go all the way through from one end to the other, straight, like that, because the smoke travels a direct, straight, and narrow path as into life. Well, I took a slight deviation in life here, showing that I'm not perfect at hitting my holes any more than anybody else is, or any parts that I do are no longer as accurate as the great makers. So now I'll correct what I can see to be a mistake here and proceed on. Okay, now we've seen our hole. I've cut it and smoothed. You pick me a little block, and now I'm working the block so that it will fit down in this little piece snug. And what I'll do then now is trim it just a little bit to make it so it does slide down in it with great ease. And then I will either take and make up a natural glue, or I will go to regular store-bought glue and put in beeswax is one way to do it. And real close, I don't want to press it down till I'm ready to really see it, because I do want it to fit snug. So I work it down with a file on both sides. And it's neat that we got an idea like this, because this could happen to somebody. It's not something that's rare. It's rare to sit down maybe and veneer the pieces back together. But it could happen, and this is what you have. Just taking a look now in our patch service. We've made the block to fit in where our air was. I've sanded this side a little, just enough to see how it would blend in as the patch, and this is still roughed. So looks like it's going to do okay. And then when we do our wrapping, this most likely this part of the material will be it'll come back this far anyway, or we can put something over it, just leave it that way. This patch, I was noticing when I put it in, this little piece of wood was 25 years old. This particular piece of wood that I picked for this patch was in a stockpile. We also claim a great deal of our cedar as being in the scarcity list, and we don't throw away anything we can use, and you can see why, because it can always pop up and be used as something else. But the tree limb at the mastery of this stem is a 500-year-old piece. Quite an old tree. That's why you find a lot of times the pithy areas inside where maybe there had been a fire or something at that time and damaged the tree, and the bark grew around it, leaving that area forever and ever to be dead inside like that. I found rocks, I found pieces of chain, nails. Somebody put a fence up, maybe this was on a fence line. Had found one, had not a particular piece of cedar, but found a piece of wood had an arrowhead in it. I found them with whole rocks where somebody would maybe take a rock in the field, or for what reason I don't know, lay it up in a tree. The tree grow around it. When you meet those head on with your saw, will wake you up. Okay, I'm gonna take the next few minutes off camera to round off, even out these places. A lot of this we did by hand, and rasp off. I do most of this by hand with just a file, form fit all the areas that I want. I'll make this sort of curved around like that, polished around, and leave more or less the flatness on top. Curling it. Got most of it very well rolled over, shaped like I like to have it. Last minute evening up here. I like to work with my rasp because I'm not too fast. Can't handle what's changing. Wood, that is, improved wise, hard and soft places on this. It causes you a little difficulty at times. One thing I like about the redwood, not only being a sacred wood, but it blends so well with the pipe. It's red, and pipe's red. This right now, giving off a very, very pleasant aroma. Got some of its living spirits. Really nice and smooth. It should feel good too when you take your hand and grasp it. It should be a part of you. The pipe is, and the stem is even more so. When you place your mouth, no. Yes. Now, don't think I can get the patch, but if right in that area is, you see, the only little place I gotta take down is right in here a little bit. You can see it right in here. The rest of it blended. Now at this time this